Having fun may not be the be-all and end-all of life, but I think it's intuitively obvious that a life without fun is a bit of a tragedy. It seems to me that there's a solid case to be made for saying that a society in which people have a lot of fun is somehow inherently preferable to a society in which fun is not allowed or not occurring very much. The occurrence of fun, the amount of fun that a society is having, doesn't seem to be a hot-button political issue, but I do, or at least in the past I have wondered if the party, a political party dedicated to hedonism that funds music festivals and street parties and reduces the control of people's personal choices around recreational drugs, is perhaps a pretty cool idea for a political party. If one were to Google the philosophy of fun on Google Scholar, as I just did, you would find very, very little. It would seem that philosophers have not thought very much about fun, about what it means to have fun, what that word really means, the necessary and sufficient conditions to say that something is fun, the phenomenology of fun. And I think these are all important and interesting things to think about. I'm guessing that you, like me, would prefer to have a fun life than a life that was devoid of fun. So it might be worth reflecting briefly on how one might achieve that and what it really is. Personally, I have a sneaking suspicion that most adults certainly don't really know what fun actually is. They don't experience very much or even any real fun in their lives, and many of the things that they label as being fun are phenomenologically completely devoid of actual fun. There are no actual experiences of funness that are occurring. If you were to look up the etymology of the word fun, it's actually rather interesting. It comes from Old French and it refers to foolishness, to be a fool. To have fun, therefore, is to be a fool. Why? I suppose it's because to have fun means to not take oneself too seriously. When I was a young man, I was once accused of taking myself too seriously, and perhaps with just cause, looking back. I was the kind of person who would go to a nightclub and not really have any fun. I would feel separate from everyone. I would feel, in fact, a delightful kind of loneliness and isolation in nightclubs. That is, of course, until I learned or was taught by certain extra-chemical influences how to actually enjoy it and have fun. And to that end I owe LSD, Albert Hofmann, and the Psytrance community a great debt of gratitude. They taught me how to have fun. What does it mean to be a fool? I suppose it means that you don't take yourself so seriously. Someone who takes themselves too seriously, going around feeling separate and above all of the sheeple who are actually enjoying life, is probably not going to have very much fun. So in order to have fun, there's a sense of abandoning the seriousness that one puts on oneself. And I think this relates to the idea of vanity. I have a very mixed relationship with the Bible, but there is one part of the Bible that I'm quite fond of, and that is Ecclesiastes. The first thing it says in Ecclesiastes is vanity, vanity, all is vanity. I have seen everything that mankind does beneath the sun, and it is all vanity. And I suppose then that not taking oneself too seriously and having fun with one's life might involve abandoning the vanity, the self-importance that we put on ourselves. We can recognize that actually we're not that important, that we don't need to keep up a facade of being intelligent or serious or important or superior, and we can let it all go. I think it's worth thinking about or reflecting on not simply the meaning of fun, but really to think about the phenomenology of it, to get to the real experiential first-person root of what it means to have fun, and crucially, which behaviours, which activities that one can engage in are actually triggering experiences of fun and which are not. I think as children we all had a lot of fun, and incidentally as children we all really enjoyed dancing at our friends at school birthday parties and things like that. We would go nuts, and there was no vanity or shame to losing face and running around getting ruddy-cheeked and sweaty at these bouncy castle birthday cake extravaganzas. We all had fun as children, we all danced as children. Somehow, when we become teenagers, perhaps we eat from that forbidden tree of knowledge of good and evil, right and wrong. We gain a certain self-importance and seriousness, and we stop having fun, and we also stop dancing. We become self-conscious. Being self-conscious is a huge obstacle to having fun. So if you want to have fun, there needs to be an abandonment of giving a shit what people think about you. Now, in terms of the behaviours that actually lead to fun, I think this is where the value of phenomenology really comes to the fore. A lot of people engage in activities and you ask them why they're doing it and they say because it's fun. But when you ask them to actually describe the emotions that they are experiencing, none of those emotions, none of those experiences are actually fun. There's no fun there. I actually believe that fun is a kind of distinct experiential condition. It's a distinct emotional state that you can feel. It's either there or it's not experientially. You can't, for example, feel angry or frustrated and sad and then say, I just find feeling angry, frustrated or sad fun. It's not how fun works. You're just mislabeling something there. Simple example of this, and I know I'm probably going to get some downvotes and dislikes for this, but is video games. You ask people why they play computer games, and it's quite common for them to say, well, I just find them fun. They're fun. I enjoy them. But then you ask them to describe the experience, the emotions they feel whilst they play games, and they seemingly invariably use words such as anxious, stressed, frustrated, and such the like. There's not actually much fun about that, and they can say, oh well, I find being stressed fun. I don't buy it, I'm afraid. There's no funness about it. And actually, my suspicion is that these people, and indeed perhaps most people, have actually forgotten what fun really feels like. They literally don't know what fun is anymore. In my own life, the moments of pure fun, of serious fun, as we can call it, to be serious about fun is a fun idea, I suppose. But those moments of serious fun, the funnest moments of my life, have not actually been with women, surprisingly, between a woman's legs, as one might think, as something that is meant to be fun. But they've been on a dance floor, been dancing to mad music on mad drugs, going wild, losing my mind. There's a wildness about it, a telling wildness, because I think we are perhaps all a little bit over-domesticated as a species. There is a sense of abandon. You are meant to dance as if no one is watching. Dance as if no one is watching. Dance with a recognition that it might be the last opportunity in your life to dance. You might die tomorrow. Again, these thoughts help us to overcome our vanity and really enjoy the moment. That word enjoy, just like fun, often misused. People say, I do this because I enjoy it. Is there any joy in these experiences? Is there an actual experience of joy there? Often not in these things that are labelled as enjoyable. It is as if many people, and you get so you get this, or I got this after discovering psytrance festivals, and actually for the first time in my adult life actually having real fun, serious fun. You then go to a nightclub in a conventional British town, packed full of people, all consuming a shit drug that is alcohol. A shit drug that is alcohol. One of the few they allow to remain legal. A shit drug, alcohol. And they're not actually having fun, the people in the bar. They don't know how to have fun. They're doing what they think fun is. They're imitating an impression of fun that they saw on television. They're not actually dancing. They're doing what they think dancing is. They're not actually engaging with the music consciously and allowing their body to respond naturally. They are imitating things they have seen on MTV or on television. It's really cringeworthy to see people dancing so inauthentically. They're not really dancing. They're just copying a dancer. And they have no real understanding of it, it would seem. And the fun, there's no fun going on in a lot of nightclubs. A lot of those small town nightclubs you go in, people kind of hang around insecurely bobbing to the music with a drink in their hand. Alcohol is not fun for the most part. In my experience, for me, alcohol is not fun. MDMA is fun until the next morning. It's not fun the next morning. It's really not fun the next morning. Acid is fun. Acid is serious fun. Serious fun. LSD for sure. And I think the funnest times in my life have involved such chemicals. MDMA, LSD. In fact, the single funnest night of my life, and this is a good question to think about, when was the most fun you have had? It's a good question to ask your grandparents, incidentally. What was the funnest, wildest party you ever went to? I asked my granddad this, and he said, "Oh, back in the war we were dancing on tables," he said. I thought that was charming and sweet. God rest his soul. He was a wonderful man. Anyway, my funnest party was a psytrance festival in Germany quite a few years ago now, called Freaks of Nature. Myself, I'm a bit of a freak of nature, proudly. Weird but harmless, a bit of a freak of nature. But anyway, a good friend of mine gave me this stuff called 4-ACO DMT. That's white powder. It was either 4-ACO DMT or 5-MeO DMT. But it's meant to be a kind of synthetic psilocybin. And I also took some MDMA with it. And let me tell you, I was like a star shining that night. You know, I was like someone possessed by the god of fun for that night, as if Loki himself had taken me over and made me his puppet for the night, and I was radiantly full of joy and wishing that joy upon all those I encountered. It was a hell of a night, and afterwards you think to yourself, really, the most important things in history are going unwritten here. These intensely joyful experiences that people have that are strangely illegal. They're banning fun. They're banning joy. The most joyful and fun experience of my life was illegal, is illegal. Isn't that an interesting thing? That some things that people find the most fun are banned and made illegal. In the end, these politicians, all they really want is to get us to work. That's really what it's all about. I hate to talk about the system or the machine, but the basic aim of the system and the machine is to turn a human animal into a worker drone, into a cog, for the machine's benefit, for the taxes and the, God knows. why we're all expected to do so much work and have so little fun. And the pursuit of fun, when you understand it in this socio-political economic context, becomes a deeply political thing, a deeply revolutionary and rebellious thing. And I suppose there's something quite fun about being rebellious, in itself. The act of saying fuck you to authority, to people who try to tell you what you can and cannot do with your life, is in itself quite fun. Again, this abandonment, this wildness, and I think that's really important to think about, wildness. When we look at animals and compare them to their domesticated counterparts, when we look at wild animals, it's obvious which we would rather be, even though the domesticated animal has such comfort and luxury and security. Somehow we know that they are prisoners. We know the unfreedom of it, their loss of wildness. Can we see that in our own lives, our own loss of wildness? What does it mean to be a wild human in modern society? We create these spaces where people are allowed to be wild, like taking a dog for a walk and letting it off a leash for half an hour. And this is an interesting thing about festivals. It's easy to become a bit swept up in the romanticism of a festival and think that this is the solution, that festivals are some grand freedom project. In a way they are. But from a different point of view, a music festival is like a pressure valve. It's not separate from Babylon. It's not separate from the system or the machine. It is, in fact, an essential component in it. It is the pressure valve that gives people a temporary taste of freedom, perhaps allows them to believe that they are free for just long enough so that they're willing to go back to their office, to go back to being woken up by an alarm clock each morning, to go back to having a boss who gets to tell them what to do all day and make profit out of their exchange of time, time for money. All of the vampires who leech off an individual in that process. So the festival is not something that can necessarily be separate from society. However, I do have a bit of a political vision, a bit of a utopia in mind, because when we look at a graph which indicates how many music festivals are in normal times going on each year, every year there are more and more music festivals. So I wonder if over the years that will eventually get to such a point, there will be a tipping point whereby festival culture, the freedom and fun and abandon and wildness and hedonism will spill over into conventional society. What if society became a music festival, a constant celebration of life and freedom? Well, we're allowed to hope, and we're allowed to think what we want and hope that these things might occur. I wouldn't bet on it because I'm a grumpy fucker most of the time who's not much fun and perhaps a bit too much of a realist. But we can hope that one day our political party, the party, will come to power and actually start giving a damn about how much fun people are having, and perhaps get rid of some of those really horrific laws that actually get in the way of people having fun. Well, I end this video by thanking you for your time and thank you for listening and asking you to think deeply about how you can have a more fun life and help those around you have a more fun life as well.